Cool.
All right, Jemima, and I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. So yeah, as Alison said, thank you so much for coming. It's the bit of a rainy evening here. But I hope it's okay wherever you are. So yes, I mean, as there's not many of us, it can be quite a bit more of a discussion as we go throughout. And yeah, so feel free to like add any messages or questions in the chat. Like it would be great to have this as kind of an ongoing discussion as well. So yeah, welcome. So yeah, as we'll be talking on the topic of finding your power as a student and how we resist big fashion universities. So yeah, I'm Jemima, and yeah, let's get started. So yes, this is me. I'm Jemima, my pronouns are she, her. I'm a climate justice journalist and campaigner based in Newcastle upon Tyne in the UK. And I've recently finished my MLit English literature. I was chatting with Alison earlier. I submitted my dissertation on the 1st of September, so just less than a month. I've been finished, and I've been a student for 5 years overall, because I did my undergrad in Newcastle as well. And for a lot of that time, I've been a remake ambassador as well. So yeah, partway through my undergrad, I became a remake ambassador, and kind of been campaigning with remake since then. And yeah, I've got specific experience as a student campaigner as well. So I've done a lot of work with the UCU, which is the kind of university staff union for in the UK. So I've been kind of working in solidarity campaigning with them for better pay and workers' rights for staff working at universities, specifically at Newcastle as well. I've done campaigning around kind of gender equality at uni and done climate justice campaigns. So we recently got fossil fuel companies banned from advertising and recruiting in the SU, the Students' Union, in Newcastle, and I also recently ran a campaign around Shein as well, which we'll get onto later. So yeah, this is me and kind of what I do, what I've kind of done recently, and a bit about me. I'm also wearing the same top in that picture as well.
Hand raises for 3 seconds to raise hand.
Ooh. So yeah, I'm wearing the same top, so we love an outfit repeater remake, as we know. Though that was by complete chance that happened. So yeah, here are some of the things we'll be discussing today. So first, we're going to go over the corporate university and what that is and what that means for student action. How students have power and can influence policy making, both in the university, students' unions, and in wider society. We'll look at big fashion's relationship to universities and higher education and what that means for our actions. And then how we can resist big fashion. We'll look at a case study of when we kicked Shein out of Newcastle Uni SU, and kind of, I think, as far as I'm aware, no other universities or SUs have banned kind of fast fashion or unethical fashion in a similar way. So I think this is, although I'd love to be proven wrong, I'd love to know if there are other cases similar. So yeah, this is kind of the first instance of fast fashion being kind of tackled in, like, specifically banned, as far as I'm aware. But I need to do some more research to double check and see if there are any other cases. And then we'll be discussing what kind of actions people can take, what you can do, and yeah, kind of discussing how you can do this yourselves, and how maybe it would look different in your new university. Obviously, to clarify, I can only really speak from my experience, and I am take action in a British university, and I don't really know exactly how things might change elsewhere in many different countries, so different contexts and stuff. So if you are from somewhere else and would love to share your experience as well, I'd love to hear how that would vary. And obviously I am like a white woman as well. So I have a lot of privilege in that respect in how I might be treated by different authorities. So again, we can kind of discuss how there might be differences and how we can also safeguard each other while we're taking action and campaigning as well. So yes, I'd really love to hear different experiences if you have them. So yeah. We'll go on to the next slide. Ooh. There you go. So yes, the corporate university. So the corporate university, I think it's quite useful to understand the context of the kind of systems we're working within. And at least in the UK, and I think definitely elsewhere in the global north as well, that system is the corporate university. So in recent decades, as kind of with the rise of neoliberalism and kind of enforced capitalism in general in society, that's also happened with universities. So universities have been gradually privatized, and that has meant they've become corporate in nature. So the corporate university runs more as a business rather than just as a centre for education. So that has a detrimental effect on students, staff, all of our well-being, and generally if we like the access to education on a whole. So the corporate university prioritizes profit and sees students as consumers. So it's very much kind of the capitalist system within education. And because of that, prioritizes corporate interests over the well-being of staff and students and the quality of the education given. So as a result of this, as we know with many brands, they really care about, so yeah, the university kind of becomes a brand rather than an educational institution. So with students giving them money to be able to get richer and richer, as we know with the fact that many vice chancellors in the UK are on wages that are disproportionately higher than the rest of their staff. So they're on hundreds of thousands of pounds a year compared to many of the staff who are precarious workers and on casualised contracts, which often mean they resort to food banks. There's a massive disparity there in a similar way that we see with big fashion brands, although kind of slightly less. It's not quite so disparate in terms of billionaires and things. So yeah, so because the university will function as a brand, reputation is crucial to them. So they need good advertising, a good reputation to get students to or consumers and customers to come to them in order to get their money. So it's really important, reputation is really important to them, and that's a key way we can tackle their lack of ethics as well. This overlaps massively with the colonial university and how colonial systems are kind of, what's the word? Just how, yeah, they keep going and are perpetuated by the modern university. And that's often seen how kind of capitalism and white supremacy and colonialism work together to uplift these harmful systems. So yes, it's all of these systems working together, but in the university. So it's useful to have that as kind of a context for what we're working within. Does anyone have any questions on the corporate university before we go on, or are you all good? Cool. Feel free to put anything in the chat if you want to. I can stop, we've got plenty of time. So yes, how big fashion is related to universities. As I said, the universities prioritise, as kind of the corporate university prioritizes the interests of corporations and companies over student well-being and education and things as well. So there are three kind of main ways that big fashion is related to universities. So I think perhaps the main one is through advertising. There will be advertising screens, at least in my university and my SU. There are screens, kind of banners, posters. They might have stalls at different points, come in and sell clothes. This is particularly prominent around Freshers Fair as well. So I don't know whether Freshers is something that's outside of the UK or not, but basically the first week or so of the university year. So it just happened here, and there'll be like fairs welcoming like students to the university, welcoming them back, and there'll be kind of all sorts of companies there giving away freebies and stuff, and fast fashion brands are quite frequently visiting as part of those. I know recently Shein were at the Freshers Fair in Sheffield, so I know some things that happened there as well that I'll discuss with the case study. Also, scholarships is the second way. So Shein, again, for example, Shein are very linked with universities at the moment, which I think is very interesting. Are currently trying to run scholarship places on a course at Fashion University in California. Lexi, who is one of our Remake ambassadors, is a student there and is running an amazing campaign against them. I've got a link here that has the link to it, but I don't have 1 minute. I'll put it in the chat so you can have a look whenever you're able to. But yes, Lexi is running an amazing campaign.
Search results and top results. 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 Your message was sent to everyone. Your message was sent to everyone.
Okay. So yes, throwing me off a little bit there. So yeah, that link is in the chat, has some information about Lexi's campaign. She was supposed to be here to talk a little bit about that today, but she's not very well. So yeah, Lexi's running an amazing campaign around tackling scholarships by fast fashion. And yeah, that's one of the main ways. And then another way that universities are related to big fashion is through recruitment. So for example, fast fashion companies recruiting designers, buyers, marketers, kind of all of these different people through targeting graduates, trying to get graduates to join their company, and therefore kind of maintaining them because they need staff to be able to run their company. So that's, yeah, big fashion is propped up in part by the flow of graduates that they get to working with them. So all of these things provide exploitative brands like Shein, like Boohoo, like every other brand that we've ever campaigned against at Remake. They give them a social license. So a social license basically means that, if anyone's not heard of the term before, it basically means that it's kind of legitimized by society, by culture, saying that this is okay. So for universities to have these unethical brands there, for them to be advertising, it means they've been given the seal of approval by the university or by the SU. So this happens with all sorts of kind of ways. If they're no longer invited, they're not seen as legitimate or ethical, or yeah, they're not, what their actions aren't deemed to be okay. So the social license is really key to a lot of different campaigns. It's often talked about around fossil fuel companies and advertisers, so people to try and get them to be removed as advertisers for events.
Richard Jar entered the waiting room. Close. Admit. View. Press CMD plus U to manage the waiting room. Richard Jar has entered the waiting room. Press CMD plus tilde to open pop-up or go to the participants panel to admit participant. Richard Jar has left the meeting. Richard Jar has joined the meeting.
Okay. So yeah, loads of different, the social license is really crucial to a lot of campaigning, because if we remove that and they're not seen as kind of legitimate or ethical, then that really kind of damages their reputation, company's reputation, and therefore their kind of market and their ability to work as a company. So for example, this already happens in terms of other industries. So Newcastle University, for example, just using my university as an instance here, already bans tobacco, any companies from the tobacco industry to advertise and recruit on campus, because these companies are seen to go against their research on health, their health research, so therefore they're not allowed to do that because they are damaging the health of people who use their products. But fossil fuel companies and fast fashion companies are allowed to promote, even though they go against climate research and kind of well-being and workers' rights research. So the tobacco industry has had their social license removed here, but other companies like big fashion hasn't. So yeah. So what power do students have in this situation? There's anybody, if you have any ideas, feel free to put them in the chat. But there are many different ways that students have power. That could be, again, the reputation is a really key important here. So you could take to social media and kind of highlight what's been happening to damage the reputation of the university. So if the university really care about their reputation, I know mine does, if you're seeing that if their reputation is going to be damaged, then they are more likely to kind of sever their partnerships or ties with these companies to regain their reputation as like an ethical or green university, or a university that cares. There are also loads of different ways. I mean, students' unions, for example, are supposed to be run for students. And if they're not doing that, if they're having companies like Shein, for example, promoting, and that goes against the interests of students, then they're not acting in that way. So you can use that kind of as a means for change. I think at least as well in the UK, again, this might not and probably may not apply to all instances elsewhere. As a student protesting at your university, you're also less likely to get arrested. And that is partly because of reputational reasons again. So if a university is seen to be arresting or calling the police on its own students, that's really bad press. And yeah, so that again kind of just applies to the UK as it is right now. It may be different elsewhere. But there's a lot of leverage that students can have, whether that's kind of your representatives in your course, in your kind of academic school. There's many different ways you can kind of bring this up to management as well, I think. So yeah, but there's loads of different ways that students have power, whether that's kind of writing, social media, societies, all sorts. So here are some of the ways that students can resist fast fashion. If you can think of any more, please let me know or write in the chat. So there are many different forms of protest you can take. I've done several protests throughout my time as a student. One targeting Shein, a couple aimed at the Vice Chancellor, who's kind of like runs as effectively his role is like as the CEO of the university, around workers' rights in that way. So, and they could be online, they could be sharing posts as we do online and tagging the university, as we do with Remake, or could be in person. And a combination of both often works best as well, as we know through our many campaigns. Petitions often work quite well in combination with other means of things. So Lexi and her work in California is a great example of a petition working really well. She has loads and loads of signatures on that, which is amazing. Student councils, where you can pass in motions in students' unions. That, for example, is how we banned some fossil fuel companies from recruiting in my students' union. So there are ways you can work with that as well, and also that might get you in contact with other students you can campaign with, or the people who know the systems of how to get things to be changed in your institutions. Social media is really, really important. There's so much you can do of like just tagging the university and sharing them, and it can get a lot, your campaign can get a lot of traction through social media. University societies often run their own campaigns. They also often have their own t-shirts and merch and things like that as well. So if you're part of a society, you can also look at getting kind of your own how ethical and sustainable the kind of maybe society t-shirts and things like that are. So yeah, look for sustainable suppliers, or see whether you actually need them at all, or whether you can reuse other ones or use secondhand things and things like that. I don't know whether this again is everywhere, but at my university, and I know in many other universities there, they have a team who are dedicated to sustainability, which, similar to kind of like sustainability officers in big fashion brands, are often kind of limited in their power. But they have representative roles and can have some power in the university. So if you're able to contact them, have a little Google, see who you can find. They might be helpful to help you know like how to make change, who to contact, maybe who to protest against, and things like that. So they've been kind of some allies to me and some of my campaigns. And I know you can also, I've also mentioned to the sustainability team at my university about like looking into suppliers for university merchandise and t-shirts and uniforms and various things like that. So they can be really useful to speak to. Media coverage, a lot of universities have student newspapers, so you can get your voice heard there and write on these issues there, or you could share, also sharing national things, like other campaigns you do might end up getting picked up by national media. That happened with the Shein campaign that I was part of running. We got picked up by Private Eye, which is a national kind of paper in the UK. There are many volunteer projects that might be happening, so you can see about starting a volunteer project.
Which are to everyone, the seniors graduating to pass on the blazers to the juniors.
Yes, exactly. So sharing uniforms, kind of clothes swapping, even with like books and stuff as well. Obviously that's not fashion, but kind of like sharing things down and swapping things, chatting with people, running campaigns, raising awareness, going to student reps, emailing people. I am become quite good at sending annoying emails. So that's like definitely a skill you can practice very easily as a student. And also working with the local unions. So they're the staff unions at your university. I've become kind of been worked quite a lot with the UCU, who, as I said earlier, are the staff union at in UK universities. So I've got to know members of my branch, the Newcastle branch, quite well, and they've really supported my campaigns as I've supported theirs. We've been able to share stuff as quite a lot as well. So it's really helped having their support as well. So definitely reach out, and kind of working together definitely really helps. So yes, case study. This is the campaign that myself and two of my friends ran this year at our student union. So this is like a brief timeline of roughly what happened. So it kind of mostly happened, the main bits happened in a day, and then there was a few other weeks afterwards of things happening that meant we succeeded. So it was in February, and there was a kind of a fair at the beginning of the new semester that was kind of to like advertising, kind of a refreshers fair they call it, to get you know, just new students getting freebies or trying new things or new companies and stuff. And we woke up and I saw in the morning that Shein were there on the social media of the SU, and various staff members and student representatives were sharing pictures at the Shein stand. They had one of those like 360 cameras that went around and took your picture from all angles, and had some clothes and discount codes as well, specifically for the SU. So yeah, we saw this on social media. I tweeted about it and screenshot it and put it as a post on Instagram as well. And we kind of all shared, like loads of people, we ended up sharing it and tagging the SU and various representatives in the SU as well, and Shein as well, obviously. And yes, we were tweeted, we shared on Instagram, messaged various people who were working at the SU to try and get information. And three of us messaging each other like, should we go down and disrupt the store? So we're just three of us because it's quite last minute. But we went down at about 3 p.m. I brought some placards I already had and very quickly drew some extra ones, just saying things like no polluters on campus, fast fashion kills. I have my pay up placard that I've had, I think, for about 3 years. And yeah, brought those down, had them in a little bag, had a wander around. Before we went on to the kind of the camera bit, which you can see in the photo, we were talking to one of the staff members there who was kind of an agency staff from a marketing agency, not from Shein themselves. And he said to us that they weren't coming back next year because of kind of some complaints and protests online. So the social media campaigning that we'd already done had effectively got Shein to not be coming back the next year. So I think that just highlights the importance and value of social media activism as well. But, you know, to add insult to that, and kind of compound it, we got up on there to take a picture and then got our placards out and started shouting to the room about kind of Shein's workers' rights policies, their and all of the things we know about them that are incredibly bad, and their environmental and workers' rights awful track record. So we're chatting about that on there, and we were there for about about kind of maybe about half an hour. But partway through, they started taking down their stall around us, which you can see here in the little caption on the picture. That's from the video, where we're saying we're happy to see them leaving. They're not welcome here. So yeah, they left early as a result of our protest, and they weren't coming back again. And we had lots of people taking pictures of us, and we shared it around, and it got lots of traction on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, and got picked up by student media as well as national media. So we later had, I was contacted by their head of communications at the Students' Union, who wanted to chat about this. And we then had a follow-up meeting which resulted in Shein as well as Primark, the Boohoo Group, Opoly and H&M all being banned from advertising in the SU. We kind of have still some discussions on what else could be done in various bits, but it's definitely getting the ball rolling, and has these brands at least are not coming back to the SU, because Opoly as well were at the Freshers' Fair at the beginning of the year, which I didn't know about. So yeah, it was really successful. It kind of took a mixture of online activism, a few of us being there in person, and kind of some behind the scenes negotiations. But this isn't the for now. In the literally this week, there's been some kind of updates on this campaign. So as I said earlier, Shein were at the had a stall at the University of Sheffield this week and last week, and some students from the People and Planet Society there, ran a campaign, ran a protest against them as well. And I messaged them, and turns out it was someone I know through some other activism running it, and they said they used some of our posts and information we'd shared about our campaign to help them with theirs. So this is kind of picking up traction elsewhere at other universities as well. So we know that Shein, in particular, because they're particularly going to universities at the moment, are being tackled as well. So there's lots that can be done. And I think ours is a success story that shows that you don't need that many people to succeed either. So yeah, we can have a discussion now. That's the main part of it over. On like what you could do you have any questions? We can kind of brainstorm as well on what you could maybe do at your university. I also have this form here, so I thought it would be useful to potentially get some of our information together of students who want to take action in their universities, and then we can all chat. Maybe get like a WhatsApp group, and we can all chat and discuss and share our experiences and plans and stuff as well. So that is I'm going to put that in the chat. We'll probably have the man talking to us again.
Thank you so much, Jemima. And yes, if anybody has any questions, feel free to come off mute. I did look into the man who is reciting the chat back to everyone, and it seems to be a Zoom bug that comes with like the new update, which I apparently have. So I filled out a ticket and hopefully they clear it up, but feel free to come off mute. It seems to work a little bit better than chat if you have any questions.
Did I
Jemima,
make that mistake?
go ahead.
Hiroshi Chopra to everyone. Loved it. Great work at Jemima Elliott.
Thank you. I don't know why the link is being a bit annoying right now, but I'll find it and share it to everyone. Yeah.
Yes, before any questions, I think we would like to applaud your efforts, Jemima. It was really, really great. Great work. I don't have any questions. I just want to applaud your efforts.
Oh, thank you.
You have stopped screen share.
What is something that you would say to someone who's maybe like in their first year of college and like maybe hasn't done like many advocacy actions before and are like feeling very nervous? What's like a word of advice that you would have to those people?
I think, so for me, I think I definitely practiced things through society. So when I was an undergrad and in my first year of my master's, I was really involved with the Feminist Society, and I was able to I ran a short campaign with Remake a few years ago as well with the Feminist Society on like why fashion is a feminist issue, and I was able to practice kind of talking to people and sharing stuff and campaigning with them as well. So I think yeah, joining societies and making friends with people who are interested in similar things as well. And it's also just practice. It's definitely practice. And I think if you have some people beside you that you trust, then you feel a lot more confident just going into it. And it can take a lot. Like I was exhausted after the Shein action. Like I needed to take a couple of days to rest because I was so overwhelmed and kind of full of adrenaline. So obviously trying to look after yourself as well. But I think definitely trying to join societies and meet friends and who are in similar things as well. So I know there are several kind of campaign societies often in different places, and see who you can meet who are similar. Because it's definitely having a community there with you is the best. And as we know with Remake as well, having each other is so much more, you're able to do so much more when you've got people beside you rather than by yourself.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice and really powerful to hear. Like, yes, it takes time and it takes practice. Because it's very true. I saw Arushi in the chat. She's one of our youngest ambassadors, and just to plug it, and sorry to throw you under the bus, Jemima, but Jemima is on Slack. So if you have any questions for her, like Slack her. But yeah, Arushi said like she's entering university next year and would love to get in touch. And And I think, yeah, reach out, and feel free to reach out to like me, although I don't have as much experience, but Jemima, and as she mentioned, Lexi, who is doing the Shein petition for her university. They're both in Slack, so please reach out. And I saw Jemima just posted.
I'm just putting some of my contact details on there because I'm awful at checking the Slack. I have my best intentions, but I can often be quite bad at checking the Slack.
No way. Seriously? Can I just ask you, how do you join the Slack?
So the Slack is for our ambassador program. It's like a free program
Right.
to like fill out an application. And then you get added to our Slack channel, our ambassador hub, and then you'll also be able to see our ambassador resource drive, which has like a bunch, like the program recordings from this, the community call, action kits, everything we put on there. And then we have a bunch of channels in the Slack. So we have like, you know, the basics, like the announcements and the events page. And then we have different groups, like people who are interested in entrepreneurship or advocacy or using social media for activism. And if we get enough people who are students and interested about, you know, starting and learning about advocacy and how, you know, they can be advocates in their school, we could even start a channel for that. So it's like,
that would be really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a little bit of everything in the Slack.
See if I can get the form to.
He didn't interrupt us when we put these recent messages in there, knock on wood. We'll be good from here on out.
Okay, I've just put the link that I messaged the form. So if you're interested in doing stuff in universities, then I might share that elsewhere as well and see whether maybe in the Slack, and we can get some remake students together to take some action. Yeah, it's really cool for us all to be connected, even though I'm just about not a student anymore, but I can help.
But I think, you know, your experience is extremely valuable because you've gone through all the steps of like starting university through finishing. So now that you are graduated and graduated with your master's, you have all that past experience.
Yeah, exactly. And it definitely takes time to be able to get used to doing these things. But I think it's also like really useful to still put yourself out of your comfort zone. Like all through all of the actions I've done, it's still been out of my comfort zone. So I think and then you've grown as a result of that and been able to achieve stuff. So yeah, I think it's just finding your crowd and not being afraid to put yourself out your comfort zone. But yes, Arushi, I'd love to be able to support you as you go to university as well. I'm sure you'll be great.
And that's, I think, another huge thing to note too, and something that we get a lot of questions about. It's like, you know, after a while, you see people who are like doing these actions and they look so calm and so confident. It's like, you know, there is still that element of like feeling outside of your comfort zone and feeling nervous. Like, does that ever go away for you specifically?
Not really, but I think you also get more used to it. So yeah, when we were walking into the fair where Shein had their stall, when we left, we also took away their all of their discount code flyers as well. So we also took all of those away with us. And I want to make some kind of collage with them. I still got some of them with me. But yeah, we were so nervous, like just all three of us, when we were walking in there, we're kind of so like stressed and like our hearts pounding and just be like, oh, but when you're up there doing it, it kind of goes away a bit. You kind of go like, right, we're actually doing this. And you kind of fall into those lots of what's going on. So I was doing a lot of the speaking because of my writing work and work as a journalist. I have some of the facts kind of just on the top of my head because I've used them a lot. And yeah, then like one of us, my friend Amelia, stepped down and took a video, which we were then able to use for social media, which then helped with the coverage as well. Because definitely if we hadn't got social media, it wouldn't have had as big of impact. Because I know when we were talking in the negotiations with the head of comms at the SU, she was saying how she'd had people in the university come up to her and being like, are you going to sort this out? Like, this is a nightmare. Like, it's looking really bad for us. So it shows how much the reputation really matters to them. And I think that is really important to see the reputation. Like if you can embarrass them as much, like I know that my university really like loves to say how it's such a green university, it's got all of these things, and like it's the same way the fast fashion functions in greenwashing in the really similar way. So it's using those same tactics to kind of tackle both of them. So you basically end up embarrassing the university to do better. Yeah, so it's definitely, yeah, the anxiety and the stress of it doesn't really go away, but you get used to it or how to manage it, and because it's still going to be adrenaline, like all of those actions, you're still going to get the kind of adrenaline with it. But you definitely feel safe when you've got people around you as well.
Yeah, that's amazing advice. Does anybody else have any questions? Feel free to type in the chat or come off mute. We will have this recording, and Jemima, if it's okay with you, I'll add the slides in there as well so people could look through, click on the link in the form. And we'll share it in the Ambassador Slack channel, be on the Ambassador Resource Drive, and then Jemima, I'll also share it with you if you would like to, send it out, put it anywhere that you'd like. We are so grateful to have you here today. This was like very inspiring, and I cannot wait to share it with more of the community.
Thank you so